Pour nous, l'impact sur les communautés se situe à plusieurs niveaux. Au niveau individuel, on a l'impact que nous créons en offrant des opportunités d'emploi pour les Guinéens. Comme vous savez, on a toujours, durant ces conférences de presse, donné les chiffres concernant les emplois créés et le pourcentage des Guinéens. Aujourd'hui, ce pourcentage est à 77% de Guinéens qui ont des opportunités de travail sur un effectif total de à peu près 20 000 travailleurs. Vous allez noter qu'il y a des variations sur l'emploi parce qu'on est en même temps en train de commencer l'exploitation et on a fini certaines parties des constructions. Au niveau communautaire, on a fait beaucoup d'investissements qu'on continue de faire, à construire des écoles, des centres de santé, des centres pour la jeunesse, dans la zone minière, mais aussi dans une autre partie du port, donc dans la zone de Forêt-Caria et Beila. Mais aussi, au-delà de ça, on a mis en place un département de développement économique régional à travers lequel nous faisons des investissements tout au long du corridor et en Guinée sur des questions de renforcement des capacités des Guinéens. Notamment, on a mis en place un programme de renforcement des capacités des fonctionnaires sur la question de gestion des ressources naturelles. Beaucoup de cadres guinéens ont participé à ce programme et ce programme est piloté par le bureau du Premier ministre. Nous travaillons également sur des questions d'appui à l'agriculture. Nous avons fait beaucoup de missions et nous travaillons à accompagner un certain nombre de projets agricoles dans la zone, aussi bien à Farana que dans la zone de Beila et à Forêt-Caria. Et au-delà, nous aidons le gouvernement aussi à faire le plaidoyer pour amener d'autres investisseurs. Parce que ce n'est pas seulement les mines qui vont faire développer la Guinée, mais comment nous pouvons accompagner le gouvernement à faire des forums d'investisseurs. L'année dernière, en prélude à la célébration, au lancement des opérations de Simandou, nous avons organisé un side event à l'hôtel Moon, où il y avait beaucoup d'investisseurs avec le gouvernement pour parler des avancées de la Guinée. Cela me permet d'aller sur la deuxième question transformationnelle. Lorsque nous parlons de transformation, comme vous savez, le projet Simandou, c'est un projet multigénérationnel. C'est quand même un investissement colossal de près de 20 milliards de dollars. Si vous regardez aujourd'hui, même en Afrique, vous allez voir que Simandou fait partie des projets les plus complexes et les plus riches en capitaux investis. Donc, le seul fait que Simandou se réalise met la Guinée sur la carte d'attraction des investissements. C'est pourquoi vous allez voir que à Indaba, chaque année, sur la conférence minière, la Guinée est à l'honneur pour expliquer un peu comment elle a pu mobiliser 20 milliards dans le secteur extractif, alors que dans d'autres pays, les investissements sont moindres. Il y a cela, mais il y a aussi toutes les opportunités qui sont données aux entreprises guinéennes pour travailler à travers des contrats, des processus d'achat qui sont faits pour qu'ils travaillent dans des sous-traitances qu'elles font dans le pays. Et puis, il y a l'effet induit qui fait que, parce que Simandou va se réaliser, non seulement il va y avoir plus de taxation, plus d'activité économique et plus d'attraction pour d'autres investisseurs d'investir. Aujourd'hui, on a dans le pays un boom minier, pas seulement parce que Simandou, mais aussi à la bauxite, et le gouvernement travaille pour développer la transformation des produits au lieu d'exporter toujours le minerai transformé dans le pays. Comme vous savez, il y a 3 raffineries quand même qui ont été signées ou en construction et il y a d'autres qui sont en négociation. Ce sont ces réalisations qui font qu'on dit Simandou va être transformationnel pour la Guinée. C'est un minerai de haute teneur, de meilleure qualité. Amener Simandou, le minerai de Simandou sur le marché de minerai de fer va transformer le marché lui-même parce que c'est minerai de haute teneur et de grande qualité. Quels sont les défis auxquels nous faisons face et comment on les surmonte dans le respect des normes environnementales. Il faut savoir que Rio Tinto, Simfer, c'est une compagnie qui s'inscrit dans le principe des standards les plus élevés en matière de gestion des ressources naturelles. Nous avons des principes sur la gestion environnementale, sur l'impact sur les communautés, sur la façon dont nous travaillons et nous faisons le business. C'est standard partout dans le monde où Rio Tinto va opérer. Donc, même si on a des défis, nous utilisons ce cadre juridique et de gouvernance pour adresser les problèmes à travers un bon partenariat et une transparence totale avec les parties prenantes. Nous nous engageons avec la société civile très régulièrement pour leur tenir informés comme on le fait avec les médias de l'évolution du projet, tenir compte de leurs remarques parce qu'ils vivent dans les communautés pour s'assurer qu'on va résoudre les problèmes qui sont posés. Nous sommes transparents avec le gouvernement des taxations que nous payons. Oui, il peut y avoir quelques contraintes opérationnelles, mais nous avons toujours été très satisfaits de la collaboration des parties prenantes et du partenariat que nous faisons en Guinée pour développer le projet Simandou.
Merci à vous.
Formé, parce que lorsqu'on regarde dans le monde, partout où Rio a ses opérations, les communautés autour, les pays ont été transformés. Aussi bien en Australie, aux États-Unis, en Malaisie, en Mongolie, en Afrique du Sud, on a les opérations. La contribution de Rio Tinto a été remarquable pour transformer les communautés et les pays. Nous voulons et nous sommes engagés à réaliser la même histoire et à poursuivre cet effort d'un bon héritage laissé au sein des pays où nous avons nos opérations. La deuxième chose, je pense, on veut aussi, parce que nous voulons laisser un environnement réhabilité et une culture de transparence et de bonne gouvernance derrière nous, parce que nous avons des principes éthiques applicables à nos opérations. Nous voulons étendre ça à travers le secteur privé guinéen et le secteur minier pour assurer que la durabilité des opérations. Quand on fait le business avec l'éthique et les règles de gouvernance les plus éprouvées, c'est une bonne affaire pour tout le monde, pour l'État, pour les communautés, pour les investisseurs. Et cette culture de bien faire le business, nous voulons le laisser comme héritage après ces opérations. Nous voulons voir, enfin, au niveau des capacités, comme aujourd'hui on a dans cette opération des gens comme Chris, qui sont australiens, qui sont venus ici, aussi des Guinéens capables d'aller ailleurs pour faire le même travail. C'est ça, en tant que moi, Guinéen, mon rêve, de voir des Guinéens émerger au niveau international dans les opérations et l'expertise guinéenne reconnue. C'est cet héritage qu'on veut laisser.
Over the past months, we've seen steady progress across the project, with operations becoming more consistent and key milestones achieved across the mine, the rail and the port. A key highlight of this quarter is the continued ramp-up of operations, with ore railed from the Simfer mine to the main rail line via the Simfer rail spur and shipped through the WCS port to international customers. Following the first shipments earlier this year, we have now begun sales to China in April, marking an important step in the project's commercial progression. Over the course of the last quarter, we have achieved several important operational milestones, including the arrival of 3 shiploaders at the Simfer port, the shipment of 0.6 million tonnes of iron ore to China during Q1 of this year, and first sales completed in April, and the celebration of the completion of the Simfer rail spur in May of this year. At the same time, we've continued to invest in people, partnerships and safety. This includes the departure of Simfer's first Guinean seafarer trainees to China, the future operators of our TSVs, the organisation of a safety forum with our contractors, and the second edition of our supplier recognition awards, reflecting our commitment to capacity building and continuous improvement. Construction continues to progress well across all areas of the project. The Simfer mine is advancing in line with plan, with overall completion at around 74%, while ore continues to be crushed and stockpiled at permanent crushing facilities. Our permanent crushing facilities remain on track for the second half of this year. The Simfer rail spur is fully operational, and the Simfer port continues to advance ahead of plan, reaching 78% completion, with commissioning expected in Q1 of 2027. So taken all together, these achievements confirm that the project is progressing steadily as we continue our ramp up towards annual capacity of 60 million tonnes, where we expect to achieve this in the second half of 2028. Beyond infrastructure and operations, we remain fully committed to ensuring that Simandou delivers long-term value for Guinea through local content, skills development, and sustainable economic opportunities for communities. Before concluding, I would like to take a moment to thank all of you for your continued engagement. Your mobilisation and the coverage you have given us, given to the project's developments, their milestones and activities, play an essential role in informing the public and supporting a clear understanding of the progress of Simandou across Guinea. So thank you once again for your continued interest in the Simandou project, and now we are available for your questions. Thank you. So thank you for your question. Look, in the past we have provided access to journalist visits, so the local media have had an opportunity to visit the mine in the past. I think in the sort of era of transparency and continuing to understand what each of them is working on, I think that was a very positive visit, and I think both the media and ourselves got a lot out of that visit. In regards to future planning, I think that's something I would leave to the communication of the media team to organise. These things are sometimes very difficult to organise, but all I can speak to is in the past when we have held those events, they've been quite successful. It wasn't clear to me. Look, with respect to the work progress, I think was the first part of the question. So as I said in the summary, in May of this year we celebrated the completion of the rail spur. So the rail spur is the rail line which carries the ore from the mine to the main overland line. That work was completed and handed over. So we won't be talking any more about the rail spur. That work is now complete. On the mine, we continue to see progress moving towards our permanent facilities. So these are the permanent crushers, the primary crushers, secondary crushers, stockyard, train loadout required at the mine to enable us to continue our ramp up of ore production. That construction activity is progressing very well, so we're ahead of plan, and we expect to be commissioning or starting the commissioning process of our permanent infrastructure at the mine, crushing infrastructure at the mine, in the second half of this year. So it's an exciting milestone for us to work towards, and everyone's geared to enabling that milestone to occur. At the port again is progressing very well to plan. We now have a wharf which is complete in structure with 3 ship loaders that are positioned on top of the wharf. Those ship loaders are required. We were able to sail them in fully constructed and roll them off onto the wharf. It was a fascinating part of the execution approach, and quite rare to be able to see the ship loaders roll off a vessel directly onto the wharf. So with the ship loaders, the car dumpers and the shipyards, stockyards I should say, at the port, are also nearing completion. We expect to be able to complete construction of that port later this year in the second half, with commissioning in Q1 of 2027. So for us as a business, our construction works are progressing to plan, and we're currently dealing with the many challenges that come with executing a project like this. Obviously, with the imminent wet season, the wet season brings additional risk and concern, but given our learnings over the last few years for our construction as well as our mine operations areas, we're very well able to manage through the wet season. So the ability for us to sheet roads, provide running services, continue to operate through those rainy periods is really, really important to us, and we've continued to learn to enable us to do that. So for me, I'm very confident with where the project's currently sitting. We're progressing to our plan. We're seeing constant delivery of items, and to the second half of this year, again, we'll be reporting some very significant milestones with the completion of the permanent crushing facilities at the mine, and then the later completion of the port facilities. And we'll just deal with the challenges as they come to us through the end of this year. The first part of the question was in regards to skill transfer. Yeah, and look, I think we always we focus a lot on that because we understand how important it is that to have a business that operates in any environment, you need the ability to be able to build the capabilities to take that operation once it's finished construction and then to operate it to the best of its capability from a productivity perspective, from a safety perspective, making sure it's very efficient. We know based on experience from our global experience with doing projects like this, that building up that core capability in the local talent is so important, and providing pipelines for that talent to come into the business, then further develop themselves to a future to future roles leading that business is paramount to what we do. And I think in this forum before I've talked about, we're not just building infrastructure, we're building people as we execute this project. So we're building people through this, and I think the example that I spoke about in the opening with respect to sending our seafarers over to China to receive operational training, that's a perfect example where the transshipment vessel, which will be moving our material from the port to our ocean-going vessels for sale, these are very unique vessels that haven't been operated within Guinea before. They're unique. They need real core capability and talent to operate these vessels. And so what we're taking the opportunity of is sending young Guineans over to China to learn how to operate these TSVs so that they will become the future operators. And I think that's a really good example of that skill transfer. So identify talent, teach, train, support that talent to when they can become the future operators. And I think consistently we're seeing that now across the business, where through the construction we've developed teams, multinational teams executing this project, and now we have the ability to pick out those future young leaders who are now taking very senior roles within our business, helping to shape what the operation looks like. So very strong Guinean leaders in the maintenance space, and starting to expand and build that maintenance team, which is going to be maintaining these permanent crushers once they finish construction. So we're seeing that across the business. I think also we mentioned in this forum before around our training centre and our apprenticeship program that we've implemented on the mine. So this is an apprenticeship program where, again, we bring youth in from the communities adjacent to the mine. We give them, a 3 or 4 year training program where at the end of that vocation program, they're fully qualified apprentices in their chosen trade. And the level of that trade is on par with anything else you could see within the world globally. So we've just completed our second cohort that have come into that program. So now we're around 150, 160 young adults from the communities, and that program will continue to grow as the years grow. So 2 really brief examples, but there's many more of how we're doing our skills transfer and developing that local talent. In regards to the environmental protection, I think always we have a mind to how do we minimise our impact on the environment. We do know that, in the execution of this project, we have to be very mindful. We absolutely committed to the IFC standard, the performance standards that we've made a commitment to, but we're also managing ourselves too in the way in which we manage critical habitat as well as natural habitat. There's commitments that we need to make, and there's continued studies that we do. And I guess that work will always be ongoing. We're now at a phase as a business where we're starting to look at things like our biodiversity offsets program. What does that look like, and how do we make that work here? And so that's the work that we're currently doing. So that's that sort of strategic vision in regards to how we manage the environmental impacts on a day-to-day basis. And clearly, coming into the wet season, there's a real need for us to focus on the immediate impacts in the environment. So, the spoiling of water, the sediment control on site, all of these things. And I guess this is where we've learnt over the last few years, where we do a lot of preparation through the dry season to ensure that we are, doing proper filtration, that we are minimising the sediment in the water flow that leaves the mountain towards the communities, so as we're not disturbing that as much as possible. So a lot of effort on that day-to-day basis as well. I hope that answers your question. It goes everything from what we do from the day-to-day and then what we're also doing strategically. It's a lot of work. I can't comment with respect to the disturbances. It's something, question that could be given to our other partners. But in regards to impact on the overall performance, no, there was no. We from a Simfer perspective, we didn't see any impact with regards to the rail movement and movement of material from our mine to the port. So minimal disruption as a result of that. All I'd say to add on top of that is, we, like all industrial partners, we're fully committed to ensuring that we're working with our workforces, we're working with our unions and others to ensure that we're absolutely in compliance with the Guinean law and the labour code at all times. That's our commitment to our workforce.